Dope. Right on. Well, everybody, welcome to yet another episode of In the Trenches. I believe this is episode number 17. We've only been at this for a short time, but stoked to be here with the man of the hour, Not a Nice Cat 69, otherwise known as Wood. It's a pleasure to have you here today, man. And also let's also shed some light. Risk On Pod co-host.
Yes.
You are the final remaining host of Risk On Pod that we've gotten to chat with here.
Amazing. Yeah, I think Swizzle was on like a month ago, and then Sats was on yesterday or the day before.
Yep. Swizzle was on, I don't know, about a month, maybe a couple weeks ago, and then we had Sats on Monday. We actually got to interview him about his new position at Bog Fun before you guys did, so I feel.
Oh, you beat us to it? I didn't even know.
We beat you to it.
You beat me to my own co-host.
But anyway, yeah. So I have been following you for quite a while. Since I was saying, like I said to Swizzle and like I said to Sats, I was a huge fan of the spaces, the ETB spaces that you guys were doing before Risk On, before you rebranded to Risk On.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
Awesome to finally get to proper connect and kind of get to know you a little bit. So I've known you for a little while. I've known your vibe for a little while, but for everybody who kind of doesn't, maybe you could give us just a bit of a background, your general history with crypto and with trading. When did you get into it? What made you get into it?
Yeah, for sure. So this is my second cycle, and if you consider this a bear market and whatever, then I'm almost in my third cycle. And I joined during DeFi summer, and I think it was at 21, 22. I think it was September 21. Right after COVID, I think it was. Right after COVID started, and I was a big ETH guy, ETH DeFi guy. So I did pretty well in DeFi summer, and then I rotated, and I didn't play NFTs at all. I completely skipped NFTs. I'm like one of the few ETH DeFi guys that ended up trading memes on Solana, which I think is funny. So I did ETH DeFi, DeFi summer, did well there, and then I basically full port rotated into AVAX, right when like Trader Joe and Time were launching, and ended up doing well on those, but I became like a big AVAX believer and sold like next to nothing. And I round tripped my Time bag, I round tripped my Joe bag, I round tripped my AVAX bag, and then like went in like complete revenge trader mode and just gave back most of my bull market gains. I ran up a very small portfolio to like low seven figures in my first cycle, and I ended the cycle with like 30 or 40 grand or something. Literally gave back every single dollar. Yeah, it was brutal, but it was a good lesson for me coming into this cycle, because I was like, all right, I'm never going to do that again. So I kind of took a break after that, which I thought was healthy. Stayed like in tune with everything a little bit. And I didn't have Twitter or anything this entire time. Like this Not a Nice Cat Twitter account didn't exist. I was just like trading on my own, on crypto Twitter on my own personal account, following along with people. Didn't have Telegram or Discord or anything like that. And then I was following along when Ansem became like mega bullish on Solana when Solana was like $25 or something. And I listened to an Ansem episode on Up Only, and I just thought he was like the smartest guy. After listening to him on Up Only a few times, the Kobe and Ledger podcast. And I was like, this guy seems like he's smart. He's got a lot of things right. Like I'm gonna fuck around. I'm gonna go into the Solana ecosystem. I had one ETH and one Compi Panda left over from last cycle. All I had, and I was just like, whatever. I'm gonna go play around in Solana. So I paid for Bird Eye Premium, and I think this was like November 24 is when this was. And I paid for Bird Eye Premium, and I started scanning all the new pairs basically. And like there was no liquidity on chain at this time. There was like no memes, there was no pump fund, there was no anything. And I just started like buying anything that had any semblance of like a use case basically. So like my first biggest win was this token called GoFX. And I bought it at like 800K market cap and at like 20x or something like that. And so like my portfolio quickly went from like, and my one ETH and one Compi Panda, which was like 4 grand or something like that. I got that up to like low six figures. Um, and then I rotated a decent amount into WIF around like 1.5 million, maybe a little less, about a few million WIF tokens, and became a WIF maxi. And then during that time, I became a WIF maxi, and I created this Not a Nice Cat 69 account. And the only reason I had this Twitter account was so I could bull post WIF. My first PFP on my Twitter account was a horribly, and I don't know, Jason, if you've seen this for me, but my Photoshop skills are terrible. I'm like a 37-year-old like dad. Like I don't know how to do anything like technology related. And so I took a picture of my dog and I photoshopped a green hat onto him, like dog with hat, right? It was so stupid. And that was my first Twitter PFP. And then I started bull posting and like rating for WIF. And then I grew this account from like 0 in I think December 24 to whatever now. And yeah, that's how this whole cycle kind of started for me.
So would you say that WIF was like the trade that really kind of cemented your career as a trader?
Yeah, I mean, I caught WIF at that market cap, and then I remember it was, I think, like February. It was like 4 or 5 months later. It was February of 2025, and I was in Miami, and my WIF position was worth 7 figures, and I was like, I don't have to work anymore, probably. And so I sold a bunch of WIF. I sold enough WIF that I didn't have to work for a few years,
Insane.
um, and I decided to focus on this full time.
Insane. So like were you cognizant of the need to be the bull poster reply guy? Like were you doing that just for fun or were you doing that because you knew like this is how I can contribute to this thing?
Combination of things. So I had I had always wanted to like make a Twitter account. Like I thought it would be fun to do, first of all. So like, okay, maybe this is an avenue for me to do it. But the real reason I started doing it was because WIF ran to like, I don't know, 10, 15 million or something. And then it plummeted back down like close to my entry and it was dying. And there was like nobody bull posting WIF. And so myself, Tosh Tigo, who you might know, and a handful of other people, just like would raid people. Like we were like the original CT raiders, I think even. And we would just went crazy. It wasn't for any other reason other than like our bags looked bleak and we needed them to go up, and that was it.
Unbel- Unbelievable. Do you feel like that is a bit of a lost art at this point? Like, I mean, I know that rating is still a thing. I see it all the time, but I don't know. Do you feel like it has the same effect now as it did at that
No,
point?
it's all botted, right? Like back in the day, like I would search for with hashtag, and I would just like manually spam bull post with. I'd spend like 2 hours a day doing this because I like believed in it and was like, okay, I think this could do well and we'll have legs. And there was a community of us. There was this with chat that was put together. There was like, I don't know, 100 of us back in the day. It was called I forget what it was called. With Degens, the With Degens chat, which is like one of the OG. It's like the OG whale chat, I think, one of the OG whale chats
Okay.
that ever existed. And we all just kind of coordinated bull posting, and that's how it started.
Unbelievable. Tell me
Yeah.
about tell me about kind of like the process of managing that position outside of rating and
Yeah.
outside of perhaps like it went against you, it came back to your
Mm.
entry. Tell me about like the mental process of taking a small amount of money into a large amount of money. How did you
Mhm.
allow that to happen? How did you not like cut at a double or a triple or whatever, you know? Like
So there was, I mean, there was a lot of decisions throughout this entire process. But it started out as like a I don't know $4 or $5,000 position, and ultimately ended up being worth I think like 2 or 3 million at the end of it. Um, but in the beginning, there was a block. So I was actually going to sell at like 30 or 40 million or something like that, and there was a block graze post that made me hold on to it. And it was just like the post was something to the effect of like every cycle, like there are people out there who turn a couple $1,000s into millions of dollars. Like, yeah, like it probably won't be you, but like, why not you? And for whatever reason, I bought into like the belief that like this was an opportunity for me, and I was early enough, and I believed in like the meme coin super cycle thesis at the time. And so I was like, you know what, like either I'm gonna make it on this or like I'm gonna round trip it. And like I have a job, like it won't really matter if it goes to zero because I'm still working. Who cares? So I was like, I'm just gonna take this shot and see what happens. And so that is why I continued to hold after that point. And then once we broke 9 figures, I started to take profit in small amounts, enough so that I like knew that if the position went to zero, I had like made money off of it, um, that I was comfortable with. I'm a big believer in taking profit on the way up, and cutting in small increments, and leaving like moon bags essentially, for if coins do go higher. There really isn't a worse feeling than watching something go higher when you're sidelined it. But effectively managing your risk on the way up is the only true way to like actually hold something. Because otherwise, like the swings, the volatility, like WIF went minus 70%, I think like 4 times or something on its way to 5 billion. So managing that with numbers that you've never seen before, especially, is really hard if you haven't secured enough money in your bank account to like manage that type of volatility.
Yeah, what kind of clips were you taking out? Was it just like marginal amounts of money just to make you feel like I earned something, or were they meaningful
It was
clips?
meaningful. It was meaningful clips. I mean, they became more meaningful as the money became more meaningful, right? So like up until like I was in month 5 in the position. I think when WIF broke 2 billion was like March, and that's when I started taking material, like life changing amounts of money off the table from it.
Hmm. Were
But
you
up
you
until then, it was smaller. Yeah,
were you using well, I guess first off, did you have the vision that this token was going to do this?
I
That's the
did.
first
Yeah,
question. All
I
right,
did.
talk to me about like how you had that vision.
Oh, man.
What
It
was
was
it? What was it about this token?
dog with hat. I mean, I thought it was the funniest thing in the world at the time. I was just like, it was so simple. And I think it really shaped the way that I view memes in general because the meme was so simple. It was just the word with spelled incorrectly and then a picture of a cute dog. And you could apply this meme to anything. Free Electron, who was very big back in the meme days for people who remember him, had this thing that he always talked about, and he dominated early memes in 24 and 25, was infinite memeability. So, like a meme that can be applied to literally anything. So, you could take this hat, you could put the hat on anything, on a president, on any political person, any actor, actress. And I was like, oh my God, you can like make this meme work with anything. And it's a cute dog and it's kind of funny. Um, the simplicity of it and the fact that it could be applied to anything in the world was really like what caught me for it, and that it was first mover, and it didn't hurt that like it moves that like the price action moved so quickly. Like it went from 1 billion to 5 billion like that. It was so fast. So like you could really like fuck up. You could mess up your positioning in it and still like make money. Um, it rewarded bad behavior.
Yeah, it truly was a different time then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a truly different time. Exactly.
Did you? All right, so you had the vision that it could go to billions.
Yes.
What were you using as your exits? Like what was the reasoning for your exit outside of just was it just simply okay, we hit this benchmark, this market cap, we hit this market cap, we hit this market cap, I'm taking chips off the table? Or were there technical things that you were using like chart stuff, technical analysis? What were the rules around the exits?
I'm not really a rules guy, unfortunately. I'm kind of a vibe trader. I don't really look at charts all that much. It was mainly when the number was big enough that I said, "Oh my God, this is a really big number. Like this is crazy that it's here." I was like, okay, it's time to sell some. Um, and that doesn't necessarily work in today's environment though, because because like, back then there was like a handful of meme coins, right? So the ceiling and like it was just PVE memes all around with PopCat and whatever else. But today that same type of strategy doesn't work, and I've had to really change that. But at the time, it was basically vibes. It was okay. It's up a lot. I should sell some probably. And I was just fortunate that I was in early enough that my position was large enough that I could trade like that.
Got it. So can you tell us then a little bit about how you've had to change things these
Yeah,
days? What are you doing different and how are you remaining successful in this completely new environment?
sure. Yeah, I've had to completely change because ceilings have completely shifted and the amount of tokens have completely shifted. There was this CoinGecko stat how like last year there were like 3 million failed tokens, and then in 2025 there were like 12 million failed tokens. Just the sheer amount of like deploys that are happening right now have spread the liquidity in such a manner that like nothing is PV anymore, and charts are all being traded by people trading charts, right? Like you can go look at a meme coin chart, and Jason, I've seen you chart before. Like you believe in this strongly, in VWAPs and all these things.
Right.
So I've had to learn a lot about that, and also like stop myself from being a moon boy a little bit on tokens, and like more consistently taking profits at lower levels. Um, and then also, trying to know when to believe and when not to believe has been really hard for me. Um, I'm the kind of trader where I lose a lot and then I make a lot of money on a few things. Um, so like especially in the last 6 months, having to like pivot away from that has been challenging for me to more of like a I'm a trader, not a believer type person.
So like what does that process look like for you? Um how do you manage it
Yeah, how
internally?
do I manage it internally? You have to suffer, and you have to learn some painful lessons, man.
Right.
I'll give you an example. So, I'll give you two examples. I mean, I'll give you a bunch of examples. I guess I'll start. Um, I have done my best on tokens that have gone to billions and been relatively early to them, um, and held throughout volatility and whatever. I'm kind of a believer, and I tweeted this during both the CCM meta and then the bags meta recently too, which ended up being horribly wrong. But like my kind of core belief is that if a meta is going to stick, there's going to be winners in that meta. They kind of show themselves pretty early on, and you want to attach yourself to those winners. And I tend to believe it's worth to round trip those positions because if that meta takes hold, so let's say the CCM meta worked, um, that pump fund was doing, then like there would have been 3 or 4 tokens that like went to multiple 9 figures, maybe even to billion. Now, if you
Right.
thought the meta was stupid, like yeah, sure, that's completely fine. Like I thought it was stupid too, but everyone thought that memes were dumb. Everyone thought that AI was dumb. There's always a shot that these things go and go high. And you make the most money by being early and holding through volatility. Um, at least that's been my experience in crypto. So that's how I tend to position myself. So like I'm a very good easy mode trader, I would say. So like when we do get good conditions and a meta takes hold and runs, I buy the winners and I hold the winners, and I tend to do very well on those. Now, like when the CCM meta crashed, for example, or the bags meta crashed, like I with Ralph, I woke up down a ton of money because the Ralph dev rugged us. But that's just kind of the game you play, right? Like you win big and you lose big.
Yeah, what one thing that I have noticed in my own personal trading, I'm sure a lot of people deal with, you just touched on, is the easy mode trading, the move from easy mode trading to not easy mode trading.
Yeah.
And the time it takes to realize that, hey, we're not in easy mode anymore. What are the signals that you tend to look for to let you know that we're not in easy mode anymore?
Yeah, liquidity and vamping. Uh, liquidity being vamped around different coins, basically. Like you saw this recently, right? Like people were calling for Moltbook to do crazy numbers, right? But then
Right.
Moltbook sucked all the liquidity from the entire market. And then as soon as the next thing ran, I forget what it was like Clonch or Banker or whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
Moltbook started coming down. It's like, wait a second, like this is all the same money. Not
Mm-hmm.
everything can go up at once. And that's essentially when you realize, okay, like I shouldn't be playing this game anymore because there isn't enough liquidity in the system to support multiple runners. So if you're not going to be like hyperactive and aware of everything happening in the trenches on a day-to-day basis, like this is a game I'm not good at. I personally can't win at it, so I probably shouldn't even be playing it. So that's the biggest thing. When I just see things being easily vampired and easily seeing liquidity being sucked, I just am like, this isn't a game I'm good at and know how to play, and I step back.
Yeah, that tracks. What is the game that you're best at? What would you say is your most important edge? And how have you like shaped it, refined it over time?
My most important edge that I have, I think, man, so I have made all of my money basically in memes and then AI16Z in crypto. And it's all really stemmed from like an understanding that like like how narrative works and understanding that we're trading narrative and we're not trading like fundamentals or whatever. We're trading stories and we're trading like simplicity. So the simpler the story, the simpler the thesis. I tend to gravitate towards things that take one sentence to explain to somebody and it just clicks. Um, and I mean, I'll list some things like Flog was something that I thought a lot of, sub 15 million or whatever. And for me, it was like the tagline of "It's just a flog" was just like, oh, like that makes sense. And then you look at a picture of it, and the art was cool, and it's like this immediately clicks. This makes sense. Anybody that looks at this is gonna like this, and was able to ride that one up to a lot. So I think understanding like and also being here every day and having a deep understanding of like what crypto people like in terms of memes um, has been important as well.
Has that changed? Do you feel like crypto people have changed what they like
Yeah,
as
dude.
it relates to memes?
Yeah, dude. It's
Because
been hard.
to, to me, like what you said earlier about the infinite divisibility of a
Yes.
meme, the ability for a meme to like really, really take hold, it has to be applicable in every situation, every scenario. It has to be able to be applied to that thing, whether it's a person, a place, an event, whatever.
Yeah.
What has changed? What has how has the focus of CT changed in that way?
Because everything is so niche now, I think. And people's ceilings have dropped so much. So no one's looking for things that go to billions anymore. People are looking at niche tokens that they think are funny. And you see people all day shilling memes like, I think this has legs to go to 2 million. And it's like Puxatani Phil or whatever was the one
Yeah,
yesterday. You know, we were talking about that. It's
yeah, we were.
like what's like, I don't know. It's like, well, what's the point of creating this like micro niche thing where we're just all PvPing each other? It's gambling now.
Yeah, or
Um,
it's
there,
poker.
it's poker. It is poker now, and gone. I know there are memes that do, I believe, have like potential to reach broader audiences and like can be infinitely used and apply and can relate to people at scale. But like the majority of the memes you see, like there was that shit piss skin can token that came out recently by World Liberty Fire, whatever it was. It's like, well, that's so niche. Like, there's no world that goes above 20 million or 15. It's a miracle it went to 15 million.
Yeah.
The last meme that I bought a lot of was useless because I felt that had the opportunity to go really high because the meme was infinitely memeable. It
Yeah.
was applicable to anything. So those are the kind of like coins that I look for to size into. But I tend to not play the like daily runners or whatever.
Do you feel like there are any tokens out there right now that have that potential to be billion-dollar
I
tokens?
do. I mean, I made a tweet today about telling people that a coin can go to billions. The same thing as telling your son they can play in the NBA. So I'm going to I'm going to cautiously advise this. But yeah, I mean, I think there are coins that do have the potential. I think Buckcoin is a good one.
Mm,
I think its lore is really, really good. The only obstacle I see there is that like if you and Buckcoin's funny, right? Like butts are funny. So that's good and the lore is good. My concern is that it's too similar to Fartcoin and that you have to like dive too deep into the history of it to like understand its significance. Which is that it was like an original. I believe it was like it was on an old Bitcoin post forum by people that sold Bitcoin too early back in the day.
yeah, like
Um,
it doesn't feel relevant so much as it feels more like old guard with money
yeah,
is probably going to do the thing where they can kind of control all the supply and
yeah, and
right.
maybe they can do that. The other one that I like that I've bull posted is this Copper Inu token, which people have not agreed with me, hence the price. But I think with metals running and the absurdity, like it's just a simple tagline, like copper on chain with finite supply. And like you get that immediately. And with metals being like the storyline of TradFi markets for so long, and I think they'll continue to be the story of TradFi markets. What is funnier than a coin whose mission is to flip the market cap of copper? Um, Now, can it go to billions? Maybe. Can it do like what like Housecoin did though? I think it can.
Yeah, fair. I thought that on the mineral side coming tonight was like kind of
Dude, it was
kind of
so
the
good.
kind of the funniest, like the most memetic, the most CT
Yes.
slanted
I
one.
lost a lot of money on that one.
So it was a bummer to see that one kind of not work out because
I
of
know,
the.
fucking him, and now I have to bull post with him, Carisha.
Well, let's talk about this a little bit. I want to. You got your start bull posting with.
Yeah.
You were in like the alpha chat for with
Yes.
because you were bull posting. Is this how you developed your community of traders that you kind of bounce ideas off of and hang out in
Y-
Telegram chats with?
Yeah, it's all from that. It's that and Twitter, basically. I didn't have. Yeah, so I that whiff chat was a Twitter chat actually. This was like before people were using Telegram widely.
Mm, okay.
I didn't actually download Telegram, I think, until like June of 2025, probably. I didn't have Telegram until not that long ago.
Dude, wow.
Um, yeah, it's pretty funny. Um, and so I met some people in there through Whiff, and then my network just kind of grew. My Twitter account and all that stuff. Yeah.
Can you kind of talk us through how that network has impacted your
Yeah.
trading over time?
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of different edges in crypto, but I do think that information flow is very, very important. I'm everyone has skills, right? Like, people like I think it's important to surround yourself with different skills. So some people might be good wallet trackers, some people might be good at trading perps, some people might be good at trading base tokens, Solana tokens, memes, AI coins, whatever it is. And I think it's really important that you surround yourself um, with people from different backgrounds with different expertises that kind of all can come together in one cohesive unit to like work together. And you're getting different points of views on things, so you're not in like an echo chamber. And I think what happens a lot of the time, and you saw this when meme coins kind of the initial wave of meme coins died uh, in the summer of 2025, fall of 2025, was that a lot of these meme coin guys were just only talking to meme coin guys, and they weren't able to like see that the trend was shifting away um, to AI tokens, and that was because they all believed in the same stuff, they all owned the same stuff. So
Interesting.
yeah, so building a network with people with different points of view that can challenge you is super important here.
Yeah, super important. But how do you build the network? If you're like a new entrant, what would you say
Yeah,
are like the first steps to take?
yeah, for sure. Twitter account, start a Twitter account, post and comment on people's stuff. People will engage with you. Most people like to engage with people, and you'll make friends that way. Uh, you need to build your own community, and it's hard to do. Like the one thing I learned was that you have to show up every single day. You have to post to your account every single day, and you have to comment on people, like find people's posts who you like and just start commenting on them. And if you like can build a rapport in Twitter comments with people, then send them a DM and like strike up a conversation there. And then from there, maybe they're in a Telegram chat or they're in whatever that they'll invite you into. But I think the biggest thing is just showing up every day, keeping in touch with the markets and being like a reply guy on Twitter. That's like the number one way to do it, is become a reply guy. And then like maybe you and a few other reply guys, which is basically like what happened with me. So like uh, the first Telegram chat I was in was myself, SatStats, uh, Moonplox, who I don't even know if the account's active anymore, and a few like three other guys, and we were just like whiff guys and like reply guys that we just became friends. We had tiny accounts, and we started our own like Telegram chat, and then like our network just like Sats would meet people, and he'd introduce them to me, and Loco would meet people, and all that would happen, and and then suddenly our network would just amplify.
You really like
Um,
manifest destiny to
Yeah, you just got to put the work in. I think, there was that article that was really popular on Twitter, and this is lame, but it was like how to change your life in one day. I don't know if you read that, Jason.
I didn't, but I mean, I was only following the articles
You were
thing
trading it.
because I thought the bags meta was going to take off with the articles. Yeah, admittedly.
Yeah. But anyways, this guy's article was great, and it was like you 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 don't have the life you want because you're not living the life you want.
Mm.
So what that means and what this guy wrote was like, this is an easier example. Like if you want to be like, if you're like, oh, like I'm not like super in shape. I don't have like abs or whatever. Well, that's because you're not like eating the right food every day, and you're not like living the life that is required to do those things. So if you want to be a successful like crypto Twitter account or trader, you need to be doing every single thing that's in your power. And like when I mean like I spent close to like all day every day, like from morning to night, like except for when I was sleeping, um, focused on tweeting and like trading. Like I literally mean that. I still do that, work 100-hour weeks focused on this.
Yeah.
And that is, in my opinion, kind of what it takes. You have to do a lot of work. So if you want it, that's what it takes, in my opinion. But maybe that's not everyone's experience.
What part of trading do you still struggle with the most?
Um, sizing is my biggest problem.
Let's talk about that
Yeah,
because that seems to be the Achilles heel or the crux of like literally every single trader that I talk to, from guys like
really.
you from guys like you who have millions of dollars or have made millions of dollars trading, to guys like me, to guys that are just starting out who, have $100 ports, $1,000 ports. How on earth do you think about sizing to, like, what's your process? What advice can you give to help people understand how to size correctly?
So I'm going to give advice with the caveat that I still screw it up all the time, and I'm in the process of screwing it up right now. So I've found that the positions I do the best on are the ones where I'm sized in a manner that I'm okay with it going to zero. Like every coin that I've done really well on, I've put in an amount of money that if it went to zero, I generally didn't care about it. Um, every time I lose money or I mistrade a coin, it's because I need to have a certain percentage of that coin or a certain number of coins. and I'm not comfortable with it. So when it dips 20%, I'm like, crap, like I don't want to like lose any more on this. Um, Now the flip side is like, yes, you can make more money when the coin goes up, but like if you're just buying a bunch of tokens, you're just being greedy. I think greed is like the biggest killer here. And everybody wants to be early in memes or AI or whatever. And you want to have like that big position. But what you're not ready for is like when you buy 1% of $1 million coin, you're in for 10 grand and it dips 70% and you lose 7 grand and then your portfolio is 100 grand. You've lost 7% of your portfolio. Um, and you do that a few times and you've zeroed out basically, and you can zero out really quickly doing that. So the way that I try to manage it myself is I have a trading wallet and then I have a holding wallet
Mm.
and I separate the two. My trading wallet's a hot wallet. I don't put more than a certain amount of money in it that I'm willing to lose and go to zero. And whenever that runs out or I buy a position that I want to keep, I put it onto a ledger and I keep that ledger at my house. I don't bring it anywhere with me. I put it in a safe. I make it hard to access. So if I want to sell anything or I want to add money to my hot wallet, like, I'll be out driving or out somewhere and someone will share a coin. I literally won't be able to buy it because I won't have money. And like that's how I have to like physically block myself. Because otherwise, if I have keep endless money in a hot wallet, I'll just buy everything.
Yeah.
And I won't think critically about it and I'll lose things. So like for me, and this is why I don't use trading terminals either. Like BunkBot or whatever. I stopped using those. And like why I only keep small amounts of money in my FOMO wallet too, is the same reason, is because I will overtrade. And so I need some friction. And I've found that like creating barriers is the best way to do it, and like knowing yourself and knowing your tendencies. Uh,
Do
is
you
how
have
I've
a
managed it.
do you have like a percentage of amount that you feel comfortable going to zero? Because the thing is like telling yourself in the moment, I'm okay with this going to zero, and then like an hour later when it's at zero, being okay with it at
Yeah,
zero are kind of, in my experience, they're kind of two different things.
very.
You can very easily trick yourself into thinking you're okay with it going to zero, but the
Yeah.
in actuality you're not. So
So
like, is
yeah,
there a percentage that like works for you, or
I wouldn't call it a percentage. I'd call it like a dollar
just a
value.
sheer dollar amount?
It's a sheer dollar amount, but like we'll say in percentages, I'd say like 2.5%.
Mm.
That's like this is what I keep in my. That's about what I would keep in a trading wallet, like trading meme coins and whatever, and everything else should be in majors or whatever. In my opinion.
Yeah,
Now, when
I
I was
just
first starting out, it was very different though.
okay.
It was 100. So like we go into that too. It was 100% in this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Now I got lucky and I caught whiff and I caught bonk and I caught a few other early things. So was able to quickly diversify that. But my recommendation starting out would be like, okay, let's say you have a $5,000 portfolio, like put 4 grand of that into Solana or Bitcoin or whatever, and then play with 1,000 of it. And then like if you're any good at this, you can take that $1,000 and turn that into a large amount of money. Like every trader here, like most crypto accounts you see that have done well, almost all of them started with an amount of money you would be shocked to learn. Um, like it's not
It's
impossible
it's
to
just
turn a small amount of money into into a shit ton of it.
it's just about, do you think it's just about the environment that they started
Yeah,
in?
a big
Eh,
part of it, like I'm not gonna lie and say that I didn't get lucky. Like a lot of it's luck and work. But like if I started with $4,000 in January 2025 instead of November 2024, I might not even I don't think I'm here today,
yeah. Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So, but the flip side to that is like stick around long enough because like I didn't just start November 2024. I came back then after taking 6 months off, but I've been in crypto since 2021, like trading and keeping in
You
touch with everything.
you've seen it. You've seen the cycles
I've
kind of come and go.
Yeah, so like, it wasn't, my account is new and it's not, but it's not like my account's only a couple of years old. So like might seem like I've only been around, but like I've been doing this 4 or 5 years now. So staying
Okay.
around and grinding and like eventually you will be early to something. It's just a matter of finding it, holding it, not fumbling it, and all that other good stuff that goes into it.
Retaining enough of your capital during the bad times to be able to actually harness that capital when you find it.
Yeah, and like the biggest thing I can say is like you will never regret selling. There's not a single time I've sold a coin. Like selling is the right thing 99% of the time.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, like 1% of the time, like you're gonna get burned. So like for me, like I had a large position of useless and I sold it all between like 25 and 40 million. That was a nice win. But then it went to 400 million, right? So that sucked. But like, after I sold it at 25, 30 million, whatever it went to 6 million. And that was the right decision at the time. Um, Little did I know that the bond cabal was going to do what they did. But, I would say you're never going to regret selling. You're never going to regret putting money into your bank account as well.
Did you get back into useless once it maybe made a new all-time high, like
No, dude,
before
I
it?
was so pissed.
Really?
I was,
You never got back into it?
dude. So there's a lot of use. So I myself, Sats, Swizzle, I was the top useless holder for weeks, and Swizzle was up there with me. And I actually I paid for Deck Screener for the original useless, which is hilarious because myself and a group chat I had back around this time, we loved the token and we all just bought a ton of it. Well, this is going to be great. So yeah, we coordinated the logo, coordinated paying decks, all these things. And then it went to 40, and then the market was crappy at that time, and we all kind of like ended up PvPing each other, except for Swizzle who held it all. Um,
Of course he did.
and then the bonk guys stepped in and bought all the coins that myself and others PvP'd each other with.
Mm.
Um, and then they resent it. But yeah, I was too hard. I sat and stared at that chart for probably a week straight. I kid you not. Just watching it go up
I
and up and
bet.
up. It was one of the most painful things that's happened to me in crypto. Actually, I think it is the most painful token for me.
I mean, yeah, I hear you. I have to just give you some flowers though for like not jumping back in because it would have been really, really easy to be like fearful and to throw a lot of money at it because like to revenge trade it and it go against you. Like, of course it didn't
Yeah,
and it wouldn't have, but it could have. And the fact that you had the gumption to like sit on your hands and just watch it is that's impressive to me actually.
that's very nice of you to say. I haven't thought of it that way. So I do appreciate that. One of my rules in crypto though is I don't double dip on coins. I
Oh
try not to.
wow. So once you're out, you're out. That's it.
I'm good. I'm good.
All right, talk us
I
through
always
that.
lose. I
Why
mean,
why is that a rule?
tell
Did
me about a
something
time
happen?
you've made money double dipping. I always lose money when I double dip.
Mm.
Every single time. Like I broke this rule recently on Penguin. I caught Penguin. I got in around I think like 15 million or whatever and wrote it up. I wrote it all the way to the highs and then I ended up selling on the way down. I think it like between around like 100 or so. And then around like 80, I was like, all right, I'm going to resize back into it. And I bought more than I had ever owned of Penguin at
Yeah.
80.
Yeah.
Bad trade.
That is what happens. That second trade is always the one that you break all the rules on.
Exactly. Exactly. So I broke the rule on Penguin and I relearned that that's why you don't double dip on tokens. So I try not to double dip.
Okay. That's good advice. What habits specifically keep you grounded as a trader? And I'm not talking about like specific trading habits, don't
Yeah.
size into this or that, whatever. But like, what do you do to calm yourself down in times of like tilt? You know, like how do you manage
Yeah.
the emotional stuff in trading?
Man, I will this isn't great advice. I tend to focus on I focus on less coins. I find that when I find myself buying too many tickers, I trade poorly. And I think focusing on less than 3 tokens at a time is when I'm most successful. So like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think I owned like nine coins, and I was just revenge trading. And I was like, you know what, this isn't working. I sold everything but 2 coins, and I was like, all right, I'm going to focus on just this. I took the cash, my like spare cash that I had in that trading account. I put it onto my hardware wallet to make it hard to access, and I stopped basically trading. And I was like, I'm going to hold these positions and I give myself a set amount of time, of like 5 days or whatever, and I step away basically. I stop trading. That's
Hmm.
it. I cut positions down to like the number I'm comfortable with, which is generally 2 to 3. I take any excess cash in a trading account, I send it off to a hardware wallet, and I stop trading for a set amount of time.
Got it. Smart. It's hard to do, but smart.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I taught myself this when like meme coins first became a thing on Solana. It was like back when like used car. I don't know if you remember that meme. You
Yeah,
remember
sure.
used car and the Drake meme that came
Yep.
out.
Yeah, yeah.
Those came out,
Anita Max Win.
and yeah, I needed max win, and then people were just launching new coins all the time, and I was trying to like play this new game, and I kept losing, and I was like, this is dumb. I'm just gambling. Like I need to stop gambling. And the other thing that I started doing during that time was not buying new pairs and waiting 2 days to buy a coin. If the coin launches, I don't buy it for 2 days. And if it's still alive and if it's still doing well, and I think there's a community there, like I'll buy it then. And if you do like those simple things, you'll find that like your success goes up dramatically. Don't buy new pairs because new pairs are a game like that's rigged against you, um, in my opinion. I don't think it's a good game to play. I don't think it's a profitable game, except for like people that know how to people that are bundling and sniping. Like those are the people that win that game. But for normal people who aren't savvy in that manner or aren't doing those things, like the game is set out for you to lose. So don't play that game. Play a game where those people have launched their coins, they've sold all their coins, and if there's still a trade to be made at that point, then that's when you get into the trade. And like, yeah, you might miss out on like something, but like if you look at Penguin or you look at Moltbook, for example, those coins sat around for a few days.
Yeah.
They didn't run right away. You have time to find these coins. Don't get chopped up trading new pairs. Give
Would you
coins time. Buy after a few days.
would you say that that's like the most important piece of advice you'd give to a new trader?
Yeah, 100%.
Dope.
Like, do not gamble on micro caps and do not buy new pairs. Um, Trading, yeah, like the thing with trading micro caps is that everybody wants to be early to things. And when you're trading micro caps, there's probably someone that owns like 20% of the supply that's going to sell it on your head as soon as you buy it, number one. So that's dangerous, and that's a fast way to lose money. And number two, new pairs are all launched and bundled and all these things. Um, the price action is so volatile. Um, wait a few days.
Yeah. I want to give the audience a moment. We've got about 10 minutes left here. So if anybody has any questions for Wood, please post them in the chat and I will try and get to them. I want to hit you with a couple more things before we
Yeah.
got to close this thing down. What would you say is or are the most important skills, trading or life or otherwise, that a news trader should be focused on developing?
Oh man. Um, they should be focused on, I think, developing their own like voice and conviction on tokens. Um, I I've tried borrowing conviction countless times. I'm sure you've tried borrowing conviction countless times.
Sure.
And it never works. At least for me, it doesn't work. I need to like fully believe in whatever the thing is. And I need to come to that belief on my own for my own reasons in order to have a successful trade. So figuring out like what that process of doing research and due diligence is for yourself, um, and then researching the market and understanding sentiment and the narratives that people like and want, and then trying to come to conclusions on your own versus copy trading or borrowing conviction from people posting about things online, I think is really, really important. So that is number one. Number two is, and I'm so horrible at this, is learning how to not overtrade. And maybe I'm projecting this because I'm overtrading right now. Like doing less is more. There's, you'll always hear stories about this, but like there's guys that sold in January or February of 2025 after the Trump stuff and just haven't taken the trade. And they'll buy Bitcoin back when the price is, they're probably starting to buy nowish. And those guys are going to outperform everybody. And they did nothing for a whole year.
These guys are Zen masters.
Yeah. So trying to do nothing, or not nothing, but just like buy when the prices are really, really attractive that you can't say no, or you have like a clear thesis. But don't just trade to trade. Like don't log in and buy Puxatani Phil because it's Groundhog's Day and Puxatani Phil might go to $1 million. Like that's how you lose money, in my opinion. Or in crypto for asymmetrical returns. That's how I look at it. Any trade you make or hold, I believe, should have that in mind. And then and then I guess the other thing is like, what kind of trade are you entering before you enter a trade, knowing what it is? Is this I believe in this, I'm going to hold it, or is it a Puxatani Phil token, I want to get a 2x and I want to sell? So knowing what trade you're entering in every time. Otherwise, you find yourself like, I have a bunch of people I know that just like buy, hold, they dust everything. And like, yeah, they'll catch a few winners here and there, but they lose a ton of money on the way. And I don't personally love that strategy.
Gotcha. What are your thoughts for 2026 and just the general crypto environment? How are you seeing the majors? And also, how are you thinking about on-chain kind of like decoupling from the majors?
Yeah, I guess I'll answer that second question first. I think it's really interesting how on-chain has been so active in the last few weeks with majors looking like they are. And I can't quite figure out what it is. The one thing that I can kind of, I'm starting to point to a little bit is like there's no money to be made in majors right now. So we're going down the risk curve and trying to gamble on more speculative assets and think that there's like a shot to get multiples here. There isn't a lot of liquidity, like I said at the beginning of the show. Like liquidity is sloshing from like one AI coin to the next AI coin, and it's happening like every hour. So there isn't a ton of liquidity. So I think people think the trenches are more decoupled than they actually are, because we've seen a few 9-figure runners, but those 9-figure runners have vamped all the liquidity from the entire ecosystem.
Yeah.
So like so Moltbook happened at the expense of 1,000 other coins.
Yeah. Penguin
happened at the expense of Penguin, right?
Yeah.
So does that mean the trenches are decoupling? I'm not fully bought into it. As far as 2026 goes, I am, man, I said this on Risk On yesterday as prices were going down, and I was like, I wish I wanted to do like a bear dance. I've been pretty outwardly bearish for a year now, and I still like, I can't bring myself to like, I struggle seeing equities, and I know, Jason, you feel like QQQ is topped even. Am I right on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think for probably a couple of quarters.
Yeah. So like, why am I buying Bitcoin if I like thought like equities are all time highs and they're looking tired?
Yeah.
And I think that they have a 10 to 20% pullback in them from here over the next 6 to 12 months. And I'm in the same camp as you. I agree with you on that.
Well,
So
the big question is like the divergence, right? You had the Qs tech, just general tech following Bitcoin for quite some time,
yeah,
and then Bitcoin just kind of like fell off a cliff, but the Qs kept ramping higher. So the question is like, are they going to converge again? And if they are, how are they going to converge? Because they're so spread apart right now. Do the Qs
yeah.
just need to sell for a long time in Bitcoin range to catch up? Does Bitcoin die even more with if the Qs give back 10, 15, 20% over the next 2 quarters? I don't know.
I think it gives more.
Yeah,
I think it goes lower. Is my personal belief. I can't see a world where QQQ's at 520 or 550 and Bitcoin's at 73 grand.
yeah,
Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like it's not it. Bitcoin hasn't shown strength with the Qs being strong. Why would it show strength with it being weak?
right.
It doesn't. I mean, it's that simple. I think you can talk yourself into all these different theses and whatever, um, but I think it's kind of can be that simple. Um, to me, at least, and Bitcoin just tapped 70 low 72 150 just now.
Oh wow, yeah. So it's selling even more.
It's selling
Uh,
even more, yeah. So hype is 34. Jesus,
yeah. There's always a trade, right? There's always
always a
something.
trade.
There's always something that money is going to hide out in, right?
Now it's
Guys,
hyper liquid.
big money that doesn't know how to trade the downside, that will hide out somewhere, and hype is the thing that they're hiding out in now. I wanted to go back to the question around decoupling. What I've been seeing just over the past like 2 days, the idea of decoupling is specifically focused around products like FOMO that are settling in USD versus settling in the mother token, Sol or whatever.
Ah,
So like, instead of basically forcing you to be in some sort of higher risk but better exposure token than Sol, as Sol is dropping, if all of the products that people use to trade on start settling in USDC, then the price of the underlying the mother doesn't really matter that much, right?
yeah. This is extremely true, and I that's an interesting story, and that's a huge shift from how when I started trading because
Yeah,
the way I learned how to trade was to always settle in the mother token or
right.
in the gas token, and that's how I did really well by trading in and out of things when Solana was at 25 bucks and holding instead of holding cash, holding Solana.
Sure, because it's going up and going up and going up and going up no matter where you
Yeah,
positioned.
yeah. And right now, I think that argument you're saying makes sense because Solana's at 91 bucks and it's
Mm-hmm.
been going down. It looks like crap. But if we do, get some signs of life and we're able to find a meaningful bottom, I think you do want to, as a trader, revert back to that idea of denominating your portfolio in the gas token or in Bitcoin.
Yeah, maybe at some point all of the products just offer the ability to select the how you're denominating,
Yeah,
and
or
you
I
can
mean, if you're
switch.
not, or you can just denominate in USDC and swap back into Solana or into
Yeah,
Bitcoin. And I think what's cool about FOMO specifically is that you can denominate your portfolio in anything you want to.
yeah,
So, like, if I want to denominate my port in Bitcoin, I can do that, which is really really cool, and it's
yeah,
so easy to do. I can denominate my portfolio in ZEC if I want to on FOMO.
yep,
And I can't, that wasn't possible 2 years ago. My only option, and I think a part of the reason why Solana went up so much was because everybody was denominating in Solana with no option to denominate in anything else. And now
totally.
we can denominate anything we want to, whenever we want to, trade, whatever. And it's just like there's so much dispersion, and it's just like where do you focus your attention?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Last question for you before we get out of here. What is the
yeah, yeah.
most asymmetric trade in crypto right now?
Um, that is a hard answer.
Could be no trade
Um,
too.
I think it's no trade, man. I wish, man. I think that. So I did not. I put most of my portfolio into cash back in like February, between February and March of last year, and that and what I left in crypto has gotten crushed. as I think many have experienced. So if you're not bullish on 2026 and you think things are going to go down more, crypto is a really, really hard asset to trade in bear market conditions. Um, I don't know, I hardly know anybody that can do it. So I think sitting in cash and waiting for a meaningful bottom is probably the best thing. That said, I'm exposed to a few meme coins here and there because I think it's important to trade the market. You log in every day too. So I would recommend leaving something to stay engaged with, not fully logging out, but moving most of your portfolio into a brokerage account or into your bank account where you can't gamble it away until the time is right.
Yeah. Right on, Wood. Man, this has been such a pleasure getting to chat with you. I have enjoyed this thoroughly.
Me too, man. It's really fun. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to chat. Thanks, everybody, for joining. It was really fun. And I'll definitely come hang out again soon.
Yeah, please. I would love to check back in with you later on this
Let's do
year
it.
and
Let's do it.
see where you're at.
Anytime, man. Happy to.
All right, brother. Well, you have a good one. Everybody else,
You
thank
too.
you all for tuning in. We appreciate it. And then just a quick reminder, tomorrow we've got Johnny Fapp. He's going to be live in the morning for a market analysis session. And then we've also got Logjam on In the Trenches tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Logjam famously, I don't know if you've seen him, Wood, but Logjam was in Penguin early,
Yeah,
and he ran up a bag, I think like to $500,000. I think a very
Did he
small.
sell?
He did. He cut.
Yeah, hell
He,
yeah.
yeah.
That's what I like to hear.
I know. I'm so stoked for him because he kind of cut like, I don't think he cut at the highs at all. I think he kind of missed the highs, but he still ran it up. I think he had like $1,000 position that he turned into $500,000. So
Hell yeah. I think, and if we have time, one last thing I'll say, like selling on the the biggest trouble you'll find yourself getting into a few things is not being willing to sell on the way down because you want to go back to all-time high. So basically what you just described. Like he sensed it going down, he sold, he forgot about all-time highs. Forget about all-time highs. And then when you start telling yourself, I'll sell on the next 2x, that means it's time to sell.
yeah.
That's,
Yeah, I
that's
can't.
it.
I'm really excited to talk about it because I feel like sometimes, like, and maybe FOMO helps cause this to happen, but people become the token that they're in, right? Like,
Yeah.
you've got guys like Remus and White Whale
Yeah.
and what have you, and like that, like. I feel like that could be such a mental hurdle for people, and it could cause them to totally round trip if they become the figurehead of a token. So for him, I've DM'd him privately and just like congratulated him for saying like, fuck all that. I just want to secure the bag for myself, like he made it real for himself, and I'm really proud of him for doing that. And I'm anxious to get to chat with him about kind of that whole process.
Yeah, if you've got life-changing money, change your life.
That's right. Yep. All right, Wood. Well, again, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you to everybody for tuning in, and
Thanks, guys.
look forward to chatting again.
All right, talk to him. Bye.
All right, man. Later.